Things I wish I knew when I first got into plants. When plants need water, their leaves will curl and wrinkle. Their pot will also be noticeably lighter. When you water, completely saturate the soil and allow the pot to drain. Fertilize your plants. They need nutrients for optimal growth. Here's what I use. If you forget to water, get succulents. If you overwater, get pothos or philodendron. Dust your leaves. I use microfiber gloves. If you don't have sunlight, get grow lights. Some are pretty cheap.
Love turns into jealousy. And now we both fucked up. Got me stuck in the middle of lovers and friends, and we're losing every part of the benefits. You hurt me more than I ever knew, but it's shitty cause I'm doing the same to you. She said, are we exclusive or not? I said, what do you wanna do? Seems like you love me a lot. She said, can we stop the joking and take me seriously?
Things I wish I knew when I first got into plants Part 2. Rotate your plants or they will be lopsided like this silly guy. This stuff will kill all those annoying little flies. Use pots with drainage holes. Get something like this to reduce trips to the sink. Mix pumice or perlite in potting soil to prevent root rot. I was today years old when I found out overwatering your plants has nothing to do with the quantity of water you give it. You're supposed to soak the soil, and then make sure to not water it until the soil is completely dry again.
No, bitches.
People often hit me up to ask where their plant should be placed in their home. Two important tips I always tell people when they're shopping. 1. Be aware of the space in your home. And 2. Always take notice where the plant is placed in the nursery where you're shopping at. If the plant is inside and in a covered space, then this plant likely works well in partial sun. Plants set outside in an open area for purchase means these plants do best in full sun. So you want to place them outside or on a patio or windowsill.
My number one tip for plants and soil is don't water today. I know what you're thinking, but my plant's gonna die. The soil is dry. That's okay. Just wait for tomorrow. I'm serious. Your plant's not going to die in one day. Let it dry out. Some plants even tell you when they're ready to be watered. Wait until they tell you that they're ready. Your roots need oxygen, and the only way they get oxygen is if the soil dries out. If soil doesn't dry out and doesn't get oxygen, it leads to root rot. Root rot will kill your plants a lot quicker than underwatering. So take a tip from me, water tomorrow.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Great question. So today I'm going to show you how to make a DIY self-watering pot. You will first need a glass at least half full. Your plant should sit in the glass like so. Here's an example of a different size glass and plant. Next, you'll need a piece of twine or yarn at least 2 to 3 times the size of your plant. Now, gently take your plant out of its pot. Take your twine and pull it through the drainage hole. Make sure your twine is at least 1 inch out of the pot. Now, place your plant back in the pot and you're finished. Place your plant in the glass and refill the water when it's needed. How this works is that water will go up the twine due to capillary action, keeping your plant consistently moist. Comment if you have any questions and follow for more plant tips.
Great question. Your propagated cuttings are ready for soil when the roots are a couple inches long. These are a few inches long and looking happy and healthy, so they are ready to be transplanted into soil. Here's how to do it. So grab your soil and grab your cuttings. I like to create a little divot in the center, and when I grab the cuttings, I put them into a bouquet and organize the roots so that everything's going to be underneath the soil. I try not to disturb the roots too much, and this bouquet will create a nice full pothos for you, nice and bushy with tons of vines. And when you are transplanting, you want to create the similar environment as water. So you want to keep the soil really wet and overwatered the first few days as it gets used to its new environment. So add the soil, push it down, pack it in, overwater it, and then go to your normal watering schedule within the next week.
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. Summer came.
Plant parent check. Your first plant, your newest plant, your very favorite plant, your tallest plant, your smallest plant, your neediest plant, and a cutting.
3 indoor plants that are easy to take care of. First up is this weeping fig tree. It's one of the most popular houseplants worldwide because it doesn't need too much sunlight and you only need to water it once a week or so. And then next up we've got this jade plant. It's one of the most popular succulents in the world and it just needs a spray of water every few days because it's from the south regions of Africa and it thrives in any kind of sunlight. And last but not least, we've got this golden pothos here. It's one of the easiest plants ever to take care of because it actually thrives in the shadows and you only need to spray it with water every few days.
Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche, voilà le portrait.
It's almost like that's the whole point.
My 3 favorite plant stores in Minneapolis. First, we have Mother.
I love to come here because it's such a relaxing space and they have a huge selection from cacti to tropical plants. I mean, look at this fiddle leaf fig. While it can be on the pricey side, they do have cheap options and really cute t-shirts. Next up is Sunnyside Gardens. It's so colorful in here and I love to look at the succulents. And they have a really cute Christmas spread too. And at number 1 we have my favorite Mother Earth Gardens. They have a lot of affordable options plus pots, terrariums, and cute things from the gift shop. They'll have Christmas trees soon, but if you don't want a whole tree, they have a wide range of clippings to choose from. Check these places out.
We've all been there. You're in the grocery store and there's a plant you cannot resist, and then you take her home and realize she's a little worse for wear. Here's how I rehabbed my grocery store pilea. First things first, we assess the damages. This cutie was super dry on top but had tons of root rot. It basically started falling away as soon as I took it out of the pot. So I gently removed all the yucky soil and dead roots and some of the babies to propagate until I had a nice healthy root ball to repot. I kept her in the same terracotta pot, but with nice fresh soil. Got her situated at the height that I wanted, filled it in to cover the roots, and then I gave the chop to some of the leaves who were not doing too hot. Lastly, I found her a spot with some beautiful indirect light and propagated the babies. It is time for our most requested plant of the week. Here's how to take care of your peace lily. Not only are these guys tolerant of low light, but they love it, so keep them away from windows and make sure you give them lots of water. I like to water when the top layer of soil dries out, and because they love so much water, it's super important to have good drainage. Always make sure to chop off dead flowers, and they're super dramatic, so if you wake up one day and your peace lily looks like this, don't worry, she's probably just thirsty. Ever wondered why orange clay pots are so popular? Here's why we love terracotta. Its most important feature is that it's porous. That means that air can move through the walls of the pot and oxygenate your soil. It can also absorb and hold water, which means it can wick water away from drought-loving plants and reduce the risk of root rot. And terracotta or not, make sure your pot always has drainage holes. Forget about all the fancy plant gadgets. Here are the 3 things every plant parent should have. Extra all-purpose potting mix for repotting and replenishing. Neem oil for broad spectrum pest control and cleaning your plants. And a spray bottle, aka my favorite low-tech way to humidify. Were you tricked into believing that succulents are the easiest plant ever? So you bought a bunch, realized they're actually kind of tricky, and now they look like this? Here are the 2 things you need to know to avoid this sad, mushy death. First is to keep your succulent in lots of bright light. Second is to keep your plant dry when you water. I like to bottom water, but if you're going to top water, make sure none of the water is splashing onto the leaves and you're only watering when the top 2/3 of the soil is dry. Lastly, cut yourself some slack. These guys can be hard. Okay, I did it. I finally bit the bullet and potted this guy up. Here's how to move your water propagations to soil no matter how big or small. All you're going to need is a pot, some soil of course, and your propagation. You're going to start with a little bit of soil at the bottom, nestle in those roots, and then fill up any gaps, making sure you're covering all the roots and all the stems. Now here's the most important part, water. Since it's used to 100% hydration, you're going to want to start by keeping it super moist and then slowly taper down until you're watering it like a regular plant.